Hey, it's Stacey B. We're back with Light, Love, and Laughter on Wednesday, May 2nd, talking to Daniel Hill from Kidminster, England, who is an EFT advanced practitioner as well as a neuro-linguistics and hypnotherapist. And we've been talking about the value of EFT, and we've been talking about some of the physical issues that it's helpful for. And what I'd like to go to next is, and it's actually a twofold question, but I would imagine that people who come to you because they're uncomfortable, perhaps not having a physical issue, but perhaps because they're emotionally uncomfortable in their lives right now, or they've begun some type of path of self-discovery, that physical issues could arise as you move through the shifts.
Yes.
Have you experienced that
Absolutely.
with people?
There's something called chasing the pain, and sometimes you can have pain in an elbow, and you start working with it, and it moves over to the other side of the elbow on the other arm, or it moves around the body. The unconscious mind is an amazing thing. So, but people will come with just non-health related issues, and they're really just unhappy in their lives, or they're lost, or they want to change their job, and they don't know how to do it, and they haven't got the confidence, or crikey, I mean, there's pretty much, if you think about what you'd go and see a therapist for, I don't think you call them therapists, do you? Sort of in the States, we say therapist over here, but a counsellor or a psychotherapist or somebody that you'd go and see them, and it's really it's an alternative to that therapy, and it's it's kind of like an in between going to see perhaps a counsellor and a hypnotherapist. So you know that you're going to be talking, but you also know that you're going to be dealing with the unconscious mind.
Well, absolutely, and I've joked for a long time that it's the plumber's lament. You find a leak in the ceiling, but when you get up there, the leak isn't above the ceiling. It's across the room, down the hall, and in the other corner, because the water's going to find the path of least resistance in order to emerge, and that's the way it happens with subconscious emotional issues as well. It's going to find the path of least resistance to manifest and create symptoms in that area. And I think a lot of times it ends up being career,
absolutely.
Your job.
Yeah, well, it's basically, your unconscious, everything in your life is as a result of your unconscious vibration. So what's in your unconscious mind gives you a vibration. When someone walks into a room and you just go, God, I'm not sure about that person's vibe. I'm sure you'd never say anything like that, Stacey. But you know what I mean. Sort of like, it's just their vibe. They're not saying anything. They're not doing anything. But they are doing something. They're vibrating. So their beliefs, their energy, how they are feeling that day, or even sort of their whole of their life, gives them an energy, and you either feel drawn to somebody, and I don't know what it is about this person, but it's like we've known each other for years, and we're drawn in that way. It's I could talk about the unconscious mind for hours and hours and hours, but it's a great. What did you ask me? I've forgotten now. Sort of, I can't even remember. It's a great tool you can use on the unconscious mind. What did you ask me again?
That, to use the plumber metaphor, that the leak is never coming from where it shows itself.
We're only as strong. That's what I was going to say. We're only as strong as our weakest link. So
right.
The limiting belief that we hold about ourselves or about the world, the universe, is always going to come up to manifest somehow. It's going to come in our job. It's going to come up in our relationships. It's going to come up in our family life. It's going to come up in our finances. It has to show up. It's not. You can't hide from it. You can't hide from yourself. So you can't hide from your mind.
No, you can't. No, you certainly can't. But it's going to come up in the area of your life that you feel most comfortable talking about in that moment.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe not. It might show up. It might show up in a way that you really don't want to be talking about it. You really wish it hadn't showed up.
Right, which is why you then make it the area that you're comfortable with, which I think most people are comfortable enough talking about a job because it's easy enough to blame your manager, your boss, your coworkers, for why you're not happy. So that could be. I would think that career is probably a very common reason why people would seek any kind of support, whether it be through EFT or psychotherapy or anything else, because it's a comfortable subject for people. and not one that forces you to look in the mirror as much as a relationship or something along those lines.
I don't know. A lot of people come and talk about their bad relationships and their partners who just aren't doing things correctly, and they're just So
put the laundry in the basket.
Talking about this personal responsibility, and it's much harder to take that line with yourself that actually I'm responsible. This has happened, and I'm the one who's responsible. Even though I allowed such and such to take advantage of me, I allowed them to take advantage of me, or I'm earning this amount of money, or my partner's left me, or you fill in the blank. It's just, all this stuff that happens. The spiritual teachings that say that it's you're responsible. You caused it, and ultimately you're responsible to fix it. So the more responsibility that you can take, you don't need to know. You're absolutely right. People will come and say, yeah, all these types of crazy things have happened. But very slowly, the way that we work together enables the client to understand that it's part of their vibration, and I allowed this to happen. That's quite a common one when you're using your setup. Even though I'm allowing this to happen, I don't want it to happen. So it's that personal power which helps you to transcend your ego ultimately, to say that I caused this and I'm the one who can fix it.
Well, and it's so freeing.
It's called emotional freedom.
I mean, it doesn't feel good.
It's freeing, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, freeing. What was the thing about clutter? Where is that clutter? Is it in my arm? Is it in my leg? Is it in my earlobe? No, it's in your mind, and it might even be in your heart. Effectively, we carry this stuff because the unconscious. We live really in cages. This is a great big cage, and that we live in sort of like in a modern world, and where sort of wild animals are very present, and they're in the now pretty much because they have these traumas and have these experiences, and they have not necessarily a seizure, but they let go of it after the event, after the shock, and they let it go. But we don't, and we're conditioned to hold on to this stuff. Oh, stop crying now. Stop crying. That's enough crying. It's enough crying. Oh, don't be sad. Oh, and don't get angry. Don't get angry, and sort of like, you shouldn't feel guilty. Don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. So what? But we're feeling this feeling, and so we don't. So we stuff it down. We stuff these emotions down, and over years, these things can attribute to health-related problems. It certainly was in my case, masses. So, and consciously talking about it was very nice, but 4 years of counselling hadn't got me to the stage where my health was any better. So it's all about personal responsibility. It's in our hands, literally.
Well, and right, and it is, and I think that and this is a completely different show, but what I'll say that I think that there is definitely a trend in an underground way in the mental health world to move more toward the types of therapies like EFT and using NLP and those kinds of things, because the talk therapy can be merely picking at a scab. And, you pick at a scab long enough, it's going to get infected. You're not really getting any better. And there's some schools of thought that say, look, you don't even have to go return to the core and unravel that stuff. If you just retrain your brain and create new neuropeptide chains and new cells in your brain that are anchored in appreciation and joy and peace, you don't even have to look at that other stuff.
I mean, Eckhart Tolle was, something I studied is something called the Enneagram. Eckhart Tolle was a 5, so he suffered from, he was very shy, he still is quite a shy man, but he was suffering from masses of anxiety. All he did was still his mind, and he meditated and sat on park benches for ages, and lived in this country for a while. But he didn't go back and necessarily change the past. He concentrated on the now and gave himself the now over and over and over and over and over and over. So meditation is wonderful, but this enables us to get more present, enables us to get to the stillness, the beingness that we're all actually trying to seek. All of the unconscious motivation, the fear, the guilt, the shame, the sadnesses, the hurts, are actually wanting us to get something so we can be. but they're going about it back to front. So they never actually ever get to experience it. It's like the carrot on the end of the stick, and they're sort of, oh, but I want it, but they never actually get to it. So this is a way of reversing that, so we can go directly to it, and we can experience what the unconscious really wants to be experiencing. Because it really is after wanting to experience joy and peace and gratitude and love. But we don't, because we're carrying around this stuff, this baggage, this, how do we get rid of it? So EFT, wonderful tool in order to deal with the baggage.
It is. Well, we have just a minute or two left before we're going to wrap up. Can you share some of the you have already, to some degree, but some of the spiritual teachers who you appreciate and whose work you have found helpful in your own journey?
Well, I've certainly read a lot of Eckhart Tolle, and you can just watch him on YouTube and just see the stillness of the man. There's a guy in England called Mooji, Mooji. I love his teachings. Is it Adyashanti as well? He's in the States. Byron Katie, I love.
Oh, isn't she amazing?
Well, she's lived it.
Any kind of forgiveness work? I mean, I can't tell you, with people who come to me for guidance, I end up recommending her on so many occasions. I write her name and her website down on an index card when we're finished, and she's amazing. I could not recommend her highly enough.
There's another teacher called Ganjaji. Just holds an incredible amount of peace within inside of herself. Is it Marlies Carlin? I think she does stillness sessions. I'm promoting lots of people here other than myself, but it's all abundance. People will go wherever they need to go. But it's but that's it. If I could instruct the listeners to empower yourself now, do it through tapping on yourself, but gaining stillness, and the universe really does provide.
Well, why don't you share with our listeners how they might be able to reach you if they feel called to do that?
My website is www.danielhill, all one word, lowercase, .biz. That's danielhill.biz. We can swap emails, and I'm happy to do 15-minute free chats. You can use Skype. I'm sure people are aware of Skype. I'm talking to you now on Skype. Wonderful invention. Free phone calls, and you can get to see one another, but you don't even have to have the video on if you don't want. I'll do 15-minute free chats with people to see whether we can work together. I do one-off sessions, and I also do packages, so people will come to me for short courses of sessions, but that can equally go on to 20, 30, 40 sessions or more.
All right, well, and again, I will make a personal recommendation, since Daniel and I have worked together before. And again, EFT is an amazing modality, and I hope that anyone and everyone who has listened has found some value in our conversation today. Next week, we're going to be chatting with Kelly Beard, who is a wonderful astrologer. She's going to be talking all about the different components and aspects of astrology and how you can use that as a tool in your toolkit to further your spiritual path. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Stacey.
Have a lovely week. Thank you, Daniel, so much.
Thank you.
And I will see you next week. Light, love, and laughter. Okay, we are clear.
Hooray!
So much. That was wonderful.